Hi, Mike.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So Michaelinas is on the moon, I take it?
Somebody's been driving through his front yard. See the tracks there?
Ah,
Yeah, social distancing. Good to see you, counselor. How you been?
doing well.
Good.
I shaved for you guys today.
Did you?
I noticed your head.
I thought there was a glare.
Yeah. Wow. Let me help you out a little bit. There we go. Turn on the lights.
Are we broadcasting now? Do we know? Did all that link up work?
Yes, we are live on YouTube and for anybody joining as an attendee.
Okay. Are we broadcasting now? Do we know? Did all that link up work?
Yes, we are live on YouTube and for anybody joining as an attendee.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and post.
Do we know? Did all that link up work?
Yes, we are live on YouTube.
We seem to be having a technical difficulty.
Are you guys hearing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Does anybody have the YouTube stream up?
Yeah, that was Will. Sorry, guys.
Okay, I wonder. I was checking all my feeds. I'm like, I'm muted and nothing's coming up. So okay.
You guys see the agenda?
Yep.
Yes.
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 Okay, how we looking? Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep, we're all set to go.
Okay, then we're going to call this meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda as presented? If not, we'll approve the agenda by consensus and move to the next item, which is approval of the previous minutes, which were distributed prior to the meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Okay, none heard, then we'll approve those by consensus. Do we have anybody outside tuning in?
Mr. Chairperson, we have one attendee at the meeting, and that is Elena Meadows from the Sturgis Journal.
Excellent. Okay. Is there any public comment?
Elena, if you do want to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature on your computer. We can see that, and I'll acknowledge you. For anybody joining via YouTube, if there is anyone, you'll need to go to the Zoom meeting if you wish to make any public comment on agenda items. But I see no one, Mr. Chairperson, wishing to make public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go to our first order of business, which is a Class A non-conforming structure at 1321 South Lakeview Avenue. I'd like a clarification from staff. We have two non-conforming structure requests that are for the same fence, and I'm just curious as to how that happens.
The first for 1321 South Lakeview is this fence right here, which everything tells us that it belongs to 13 South Lakeview. We don't know exactly where the property line, but there was past permits that indicate that it's this neighbor's fence. It does extend from this property line all the way down to the end of their property line.
Okay,
So he is, or 1321 is asking for a Class A non-conforming for this portion of the fence. And 1320 is asking for a Class A for this portion of their fence.
Oh, okay.
And then again, you'll see on, when we get to their section, the property line is, it's right in here. So the edge of that pool line. So if you were to take that line over. So again, it all started with 1321 asked for a building permit to replace their fence. And that's what brought this part of the fence up, and that's why we're here.
I see. So the bulk of the fence that's up there, just in case anybody hasn't gone by and looked at that, is a dilapidated stockade type fence that's going to remove itself here shortly if somebody doesn't act. So this will be a pretty significant aesthetic improvement for the neighborhood. So the first one, since we're doing this in 2 bites, we're going to talk about the 1321 South Lakeview. We've gotten a pretty good overview there from Will for what we're chasing. It's a corner lot and it abuts 2 streets. This particular picture is a little bit dated. Some of it fell down in the process of working on it, and doesn't exactly look like that, but that's the footprint of the fence we're looking at. So the criteria that we need to meet, A, is that the structure was lawful when it was constructed. B, that the continuing use or structure does not significantly depress property values of the nearby properties. C, that the continuance of the use or structure will not be contrary to the public health, safety, or welfare or the spirit of the zoning ordinance. D, that there is no useful purpose served by the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance with which the use or structure does not conform. And E, then an improvement to an existing non-conforming use will result. This fence does show up on a site plan for the building permit for the swimming pool in 1992. So it was a lawful structure when it was built. I don't see any need for any kind of stipulations or anything that goes along with this. Is there any public comment?
Once again, if we do have any public comment and you're joining via the Zoom meeting, you can do that by using the raise your hand feature. Give it just a second, but I don't see any public comment, Mr. Chairperson.
Okay, we'll move on. If anybody does pop up, make sure you interrupt me, please. How about on the Planning Commission? Are there any comments or questions? Okay, none heard. Then it would please the chair at this time to hear a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would move to approve the application for a Class A non-conforming structure status for the existing fence at 1321 South Lakeview Avenue, parcel ID 052-660-061-00 as presented.
Okay, and is there a second?
I second.
Very good. So we have a motion and support. All those in favor, we have to do this by roll call. And I can only see some of you here.
Kara, do you want to run through the roll call?
Yeah,
Do
can you
have
call the
your
roll,
list?
please, Carol?
Yep. Okay, so John,
Yes.
okay. Mike Kaywood,
Yes.
okay. Mike Brothers,
Yes.
okay. Rick Mailer,
Yes.
Pete Stage,
Yes.
and Gary Allen.
Yes.
I believe that's everyone.
Okay.
Eric,
Any-
Eric,
any-
Sorry, Eric.
yeah, I vote yes.
Yes, okay.
Okay,
Sorry
motion
about
carried.
that.
Motion carried. Thank you. So now we'll move on to another Class A non-conforming, which is another section of the same fence. And this one, strictly speaking, is 1321 South Lakeview. Sorry, hang on. Okay. So, really all the same information. This is another corner lot. This one is more of the setback issue. Off the street, I'm going to guess it's maybe, I don't know, what is there, Will, 10, 12 feet of green belt there?
I think there's about 15 feet from the curb to the property line, roughly.
Yeah. And so that fence is actually right on the property line. So it's supposed to be another 15 feet back. But I think it looks fine. There's plenty of green belt. And again, it's going to be a much nicer fence. It'll look better for the neighborhood. So it's a modern white vinyl fence that's going in.
And this neighbor hasn't decided if they're gonna replace the fence. They're just looking at possibly replacing it. So that's what stemmed the push to have them get their Class A, so there wouldn't be any holdbacks when they do apply or get a contractor lined up.
Yep. Can I ask, did the ordinance change since 1992? Did the setbacks change? Or how is this not a non-conforming back then?
I can't answer that. I don't have anything from 90. The most recent ordinance, or the oldest, is like 2001 that I had a record of. So.
That's fine. I was just curious sometimes how these things occur to begin with. Okay. So all the same requirements. Structure had to be lawful when constructed. We're assuming it was. The continued use of the structure does not significantly depress the property values or nearby properties. The continuance of the use of structure will not be contrary to the public health, safety, or welfare or the spirit of the zoning ordinance. There will be no useful purpose served by the strict application of the provisions of the zoning ordinance with which the use of structure does not conform, and an improvement to an existing non-conforming use will result. So that's where we're at there. Is there any public comment on this issue?
Once again, for anyone joining us via the Zoom meeting, if you wish to make public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature. See none, Mr. Chairperson.
Very good. Any discussion with anyone on the commission?
No.
Staff?
I have one thing. So
Yep.
on the far west side, which is right here.
Yep.
Right now they're using the neighbor's fence, but in the instance that the neighbor ever did want to remove their fence, that this Class A non-conforming would allow or require 1320 to put the fence back up in this place on their property. So they wouldn't have to come back because we're giving them a Class A non-conforming for this property for this fence, which this property is using it for their pool barrier. So if this neighbor over here were to ever remove their fence, it would allow them 1320 to replace the fence on their side.
Okay, which they'd have to do to meet code for the pool.
Correct.
So do we need to add that as a stipulation?
I think I'd make it a condition, sure.
Okay, so state that condition and then we'll just refer to it in the motion,
Mr. Chairperson, I have a quick question, if I may.
please.
Will, does that run the entire length of the property line? Would they need to have that, not just that one small section fence, but the entire property line if the homeowner at 1320 removed their fence?
Well, the answer is yes, but all we're talking about is this. So if the neighbor were to remove, this neighbor here has a fence that runs here, but they're looking, this neighbor's fence is all along here. So we would have to deal with that on a separate project, I guess, if they were to ever remove this fence. So, but then they could put a chain link fence up or something in that here, but they wouldn't be able to put it here. They would be required to put back up
So what you have highlighted now in blue is what's deemed as the property of 1320 Rishel. And the balance of that to the south is deemed to be the property of 1321 South Lakeview.
on this fence right here,
Yes.
correct? Yep.
Okay, very good. Any further questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairperson, Commissioner Jones has raised his hand.
Okay, Commissioner Jones,
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the application for Class A non-conforming structure status for the existing fence and in-ground pool at 1320 East Rishel Road, parcel number ID 052-660-06000 as presented, but stipulating that if the neighbor to the east at 1321 South Lakeview should happen to remove the northeast corner section of their fence, the resident at 1320 East Rishel will be responsible for replacing that section of fence.
excellent. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion. We have a second. All those in favor by roll call, please.
Was the second mailer
Yes.
Yes.
to verify? Okay. So John,
Yes.
okay, Kaywood,
Yes.
okay, Brothers,
Yes.
Mailer,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Very good. Any other comments from the commission? Any other discussion from staff? Anything we want to talk about?
Not tonight.
Okay, there being no further business, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.